When I first started my relationship with Lenovo way back when, about a year ago, it started out great but quickly went sour. I had a brand new Lenovo Legion 7i with the RTX 2070 Super with a great screen, great build quality, great design, numerous ports, but there was one issue that I noticed that was an absolute deal breaker. On my screen, there was a bright spot, bright pixels in the lower right hand corner that you can especially see when the screen is white that wouldn't go away, and they say wasn't covered by warranty. And they actually prompted me to send it back. After that, I just didn't trust them anymore. So I packed it up, shipped it off, ordered me an Alienware, and the rest is history. Now with the release of the Legion 7 Gen 6, I'm finally back to testing this series again. And after reviewing the Legion 5 Pro, which is probably one of my top 2 laptops of this year, I'm interested to find out how this thing performs. Will they disappoint? This is your boy DT 2.0, and today we have the review of the Lenovo Legion 7 Gen 6. And spoiler alert, no need to call Maury, this baby is mine, it's a keeper. Send me the child support documents. Let's get into it. Now, before I excitedly get into this, let's go over the specs. This thing sports a Ryzen 9 5900HX, 32 gigabytes of RAM at 3200 megahertz, a 2 terabyte SSD, and that's in 2 NVMe sticks, I guess we can call them sticks, an RTX 3080 with 16 gigabytes of video RAM, 165 watts with what they call hybrid mode, which I assume is like Optimus, and I'll show you that when we go into the Lenovo Vantage software. A 16-inch WQXGA, I had a problem saying that earlier, I had to re-record this a few times, WQXGA 2560 by 1600 IPS anti-glare display with Dolby Vision, HDR 400, 500 nits, and 165 hertz. Whew, that's, and I'll add this right now, and I was gonna save it until the display portion, but you can turn the 165 hertz down to 60 hertz, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And that saves you a fair amount of battery life, so they say. I haven't tested that portion just yet. Per key RGB keyboard that I don't have on right now, and that's about it. Of course, there's the other thing, Bluetooth 5.0 and Wi-Fi 6 and all that other good stuff that you already know that's in here. Total price was just over $2,600 after taxes and shipping, which if you ask me, compared to other manufacturers out there that overcharge, see Razer and Alienware, this was a pretty good deal. Now they were running the Intel Gamer Days sale at the time, so I got a pretty good amount off. So if that comes up again, because normally it comes up, and then you know you got the holidays coming up faster than ever or sooner than later, you'll probably get another good deal. Plus these cards may be more readily available than they are right now. Let's do a quick roundabout. On the left side, you have a USB-C and a microphone headphone combo jack. On the right side, you have another USB-C, and this switch right here is a camera disconnect switch. So there's no shutter on this, but you can physically disconnect the camera from the internals. In the back, and I'll turn this upside, I guess you could turn it upside down, but in the back, you have an Ethernet port, another USB-C, 3 USB-A ports, an HDMI output, and a power input. Whew! That's a whole lot. A whole lot. I mean, when I saw that when I opened up the box, of course I already read about it, but when I saw it when I opened up the box, I was kind of excited because no dongles required. Again, a 16-inch WQXGA display. Log back in. 1600p with a 720p webcam. That's kind of and I'll talk about that in a few. Now, the build quality is metal and it's solid, and I love it. Screen flex is very minimal. I have to actually put some work to do this. The hinge is said to be better than the last version, so it kind of feels that way, right? It feels pretty solid, right? There's a little wiggle in here, but that's because I'm just throwing it around. It does have that junk in the trunk that houses the ports in the back that I personally prefer on laptops because it makes it easier to manage cables when sitting on your desk. It's an obvious gaming computer when the lights are on, but looks very conservative when they are off. And I'm feeling that. And if you guys want to see how the lights look when they're on, and I have some bright lights in here right now, so you really can't see it, but I'm gonna turn the lights off later to let you guys see exactly how it looks. Or just put a clip in here. I'm not too I'm not too keen on the placement of the naming on the hood here and the tab here. I'm like, but I see they tried to do something different, so I get what they were trying to do. It's not a deal breaker, don't get me wrong. Just don't touch this tab right here with your fingers like I just did, or inside of this Legion right here, because it does collect fingerprints on here, and it'll take a little bit of elbow grease or finger grease, I'm playing, to get that out. Get a little microfiber cloth to get that out. But that's only if your OCD kicks in like myself. It's not light overall, but it's also not heavy at just over 5.5 pounds. But what do you expect for a laptop of a screen this size, right? I mean, it's borderline 17-inch, 16-inch, but it's definitely not a 15.6-inch, and you can see that. The way this design, it just doesn't feel like it feels fragile. It doesn't feel like if I dropped it, it'll break or anything like that. It just feels solid. Overall, I give this design a solid A, without a doubt. Now, if you haven't been to my channel before, you should know that this is a consumer review. I don't get deep into the specs, charts, using different testing software and all of that. I do use some, but not all. This is a review from a consumer perspective when all you want to know is, when I get this thing home, is it going to perform for what I want to use it for, or what you want to use it for? And I stress the word I or you, because for the games that I play and the software that I use, that we may have in common are probably the same things that you use and that makes this laptop work for you. So hopefully some of the things that I use it for, some of the things that you see in this video helps you make a decision on whether this is a laptop to get. Now, there are plenty of other channels out there that gets deep into the weeds that you can tap into, and I have some that I've been to myself looking for this same laptop. But let's get into my likes, my dislikes, my concerns, the performance, and my overall recommendation. Like number one, you all know I was gonna say it, it's the display. It's always a display. Because if I open a laptop up and the display is trash, I really wouldn't give a damn what's in the internals. I'm probably gonna close it back up and send it back to the store. Unless I got a great deal on it. Anyway, it's the same display that's on the Legion 5 Pro, and I really liked. Dolby Vision and HDR 400, 1600p, which in my opinion is the right pixel density for a screen this size. It has little to no backlight bleed, and it's 165 hertz that you can down sample to 60 hertz. Now, while I'd rather a higher refresh rate for the games that I play, it's just fine. My favorite feature of the screen is its brightness, up to 500 nits. At night, and I'm telling you folks, at night, this screen could make you feel like Cyclops on X-Men if you accidentally have the screen at max brightness in a dark room. I'm telling you, you'll feel like Dracula getting his coffin open in the middle of the day. But all joking aside, I see no issue with having this thing outside in direct sunlight. Gaming on this screen is a pure joy. It's big, like I said before, but it's not too big, as the bezels around the sides are just small to make it look smaller than what it is. Like I said before, it is 165 hertz, but Lenovo gives you the option to drop the refresh rate to 60 hertz to save battery. What? Where they do that at? Name one other laptop that can do that. Because I haven't been searching, and I didn't even know that was an option until I got this in here. So that was a huge bonus for me, to be honest with y'all. Once I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe this thing could be a keeper. Moving on, no huge chin at the bottom, and that's a plus. And it doesn't get hot. And what I mean by that, I mean that because I've been having a rash of laptops in here where once the fans start going and the games start playing and the heat starts rising, air blows on the screen, but this doesn't get hot. And that's a good thing, because as you can see, no vents here. Overall, outside of an OLED, this screen is walking the tightrope as the best in the business. I'm telling you. Manufacturing process and consistency, outside of Lenovo, I have to give it to MSI, but they don't take any risk with their screens, as the brightness and color gamut is not up to my personal standards. MSI just gives you a normal screen. I can have an MSI computer right next to this, or laptop right next to this with the same specs or even better specs, but I'll choose this one because the screen is much better. So overall, I love it. So good job to Lenovo. Like number 2, the keyboard. Again, this is one of those things that could be a deal breaker for some folks. As soon as you open it up, you look at the screen, check, I got it. I love it. Start playing with the keyboard. If the keyboard is trash, it might be a deal breaker for some folks. But this one, I've always been a fan of Lenovo's keyboard since I had the 7i last year. And even before that, when I purchased a Yoga 9i a few years ago, I fell in love with the feel. The resistance, while not as stiff as Alienware, which is also a keyboard I put in the same category as this, is great. It's just right for what I call speed typing. I had no issue typing up this review after adjusting to the feel, just like you would do with any new keyboard that you start playing with. Full-size keys for the arrows right here, and great spacing overall across the keyboard. They made good use of this deck, to be honest with you, with little to no space left, and I like it because it makes the laptop feel smaller than what it is. The lighting is great. It's even, very little leakage around the keys, and attention to detail was used when they actually put these lights under these keys. So how do I know that? Well, I can confirm that under one of the lighting effects on here that there's actually 3 lights under the backspace, or 3 LEDs under the backspace key, which makes it just about evenly lit under here. Now, if you watch my my Razer Blade 14 review, I complained about the unevenness of the lighting under some keys for a laptop that's that expensive. And as a matter of fact, it's more expensive than this one. So Lenovo paid attention. They wanted even lighting under all of their keys, and they did that. So I have to give them props for that. Of course, for the Razer, that was a nitpick, but it is what it is. But the specs were even up with this one, even though they had a 3080 Max Q. This one was still cheaper, by about 300 bucks. Now, there is a shortcut sticker here, and that just tells you a few of the shortcuts. But one of the main things that I love about this keyboard, probably the most, are the shortcuts. As you can see, the shortcut function key is for the lighting effects. Function and then function and spacebar. I can turn them on. I can go to different modes. Turn it off. As you can see, go one more. And as you can see, individually lit keys around. I really love that. Right here, function Q for the performance modes. Now with the performance modes, you'll see it on the screen, but if you miss it, that's on the screen of what mode it's in, you could always check by looking at the light on the power button, because it'll change. In auto mode, it's white, but if you go function Q, change to solid mode, it goes blue, and as you can see, the screen got dim. Now if I want to go to high performance mode, boom, it goes back to auto. Oh, because I don't have it plugged in, I'm sitting here confused a little bit. Because I don't have it plugged in, it won't go red because that's high performance mode. So it won't go to high performance mode when it's not plugged in. So maybe I'll plug it in later to show you guys. Anyway, moving on. Function R, and as you can see, the keys that you can use are lit up. Function R takes this thing from 165 hertz to 60 hertz. As you can see, the screen blanked. And now we're at 60 hertz, and there's a display on there saying it's 60 hertz. And you can tell it's 60 hertz. Oh man, we're just moving this mouse around, I can tell it's 60 hertz. I don't know, once you start playing with anything over 100 hertz, hell, anything over 60 hertz, you can tell when you come back to 60 hertz. So I'll go back to function R to turn that back to 165 hertz. And as you can see, the screen is blank, and boom, it's back, and I can tell I'm back to 165 hertz. Function L turns on and off the Lenovo Legion symbol on the hood. As you can see, I can do that again, function L, and it went off, and then function L, it comes back on. And last but not least, and I said it earlier, function spacebar changes the lighting effects. Let me get back in here. I love this feature overall because it's easy to remember once you get used to it. As you can see, folks, I'm a little bit excited. I may not sound like it, but I am excited about this, and I'm gushing over these keys like an Instagram model. That was some awkward silence. I probably shouldn't have said that. Moving on. Like number 3, the design elements. Now this will be quick. I love the extension in the back to house the ports, along with those indicator lights that put this above any other laptop out here that has a housing in the back, or what I call junk in the trunk, as I don't have to fumble around when connecting devices. 90% of the time, I don't even have to go behind the back of the laptop and look. I don't have to fumble around with my cables or anything like that. I move the laptop around to get to the rear. I just already know where those lights are, or where those ports are because of those lights. All I do is partially close the display, look at the lighting in the back, connect my device, open the display back up, and I'm rolling. Compare this to the GE66 and any of the Alienware computers, M15, M17, X15, X17, that has no lights. You have to fumble around in the back. It is what it is. The hinge, I said before, feels nice and solid, which Lenovo hasn't officially confirmed, I don't think, but I've heard is an improvement over the 7i. The branding is not too brash once you remove these stickers or advertisements, at least over here. The lighting effects looks absolutely awesome at night or in the dark. This thing looks like it's floating. It's like a better implementation of the MSI GE66's light bar. I also like the way the lights are behind the vents to give it that afterglow effect on the sides and in the rear. They are bright, but they're not an afterthought, and you can control the lighting because it goes along with the keyboard lights. I'm loving the color, the aluminum material, the feel, everything about this thing. As it does, overall, it does pretty good with fingerprint rejection. You have to really, really look to get some, really try hard to get some fingerprints on this thing. And if you do, it's easy to wipe off. The display does have a little bit of extra hangover when you close it. There's a little hump right here. So when you close it, and then it's easy to grab when you open it. The detail, to be honest with you, the detail overall just makes me feel better about spending money on this laptop. And I say feel just better, because I won't say good or great, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of damn money. So just better. Like number 4, I said it before, that rhymed a little bit. The port selection. This is what I've been asking for the longest from other manufacturers. Give me the ports I need and will use on a regular basis. USB-A isn't dead yet. They gave us 3. One which you can configure to stay on the charger device even when the laptop is off, as indicated by the battery symbol. USB-C is still king of the block. They gave me 3. One with DisplayPort 1.4 and battery and power delivery functionality. Obviously, with the Ryzen chip, there's no Thunderbolt here, but I'm confident if they had an Intel chip, I probably have 3. Full-size Ethernet port and HDMI 2.1 for that 4K 120 goodness if you want to take it there. I'll end this clip with just this. No dongles required, and I'm loving it. I hope y'all listening, Alienware. Like number 5, and folks, before you get into your feelings or whatever, I'm not doing this in any particular order, just as I recognize them. But like number 5 is the Lenovo Vantage software. I have here displayed on the screen, if I can crank up the brightness. So hopefully you can see. I probably blew your eyeballs out because that looks white up here and it's actually like bluish green. Anyway, Lenovo Vantage. While it may not be as flashy or as in-depth as, say, Alienware, MSI, or ASUS's control centers, and I'm just using a generic term, they all call something different. I like it because it's simple and to the point, and sometimes that's all you need. If I wanted more info, I'll just download software to give me those details, as most people do anyway. So why would Lenovo make something or spend money on this when people probably won't even use it? But they had to give you something. So I think they started with the bare minimum and worked slightly up from there. You won't find temps or fan speeds, but what you will find is quick access to useful functions. And as you can see on the screen right here, I have GPU use, VRAM use, CPU speed and use, SSD use, SSD 1 and SSD 2 use. And if I expand this, and there's another one. So when I go in here to more info, tells me I'm in good condition, tells me how much my memory, storage, system updates, and all that other good stuff. Go back here. Over here, there's what they call Legion Edge. This changes your thermal mode, your network boost, auto close function, Here's your hybrid mode that I have turned on. Now, hybrid mode was actually turned off when I first opened this thing up. So be mindful that if you buy one of these and it seems like your battery life isn't great, it's probably because hybrid mode wasn't on. But I had to turn it on once I powered it up, once I opened up Legion Vantage, saw that it wasn't on, turned it on, hit restart, and I'm good to go. Battery life was great. Now I'll mention that later. Overdrive and then touchpad lock. And with the quick settings right here, there's rapid charge and then Wi-Fi security. There's also system tools down here. System update, macro keys, power, media, hardware scan. This is your audio, Nahimic. There's that name again, Nahimic, and then X-Rite color assistant for your lighting on your keyboard. Your lighting effects on your keyboard. So you can just click each one of those, and I won't go into each one, and see, battery health, rapid charge, conservation mode. Which conservation mode has always been part of the Lenovo Vantage. This extends the lifespan of your battery by allowing it to charge up to a certain percentage before it stops charging. It's great that you have that option. So as you can see, Lenovo Vantage, I was gonna mess that up anyway, has simple but useful functions, right? And a key word on simple, because sometimes, again, that's all you need is simple functions. If I wanted to see temps and speeds and use and all of that, I'll just download MSI Afterburner. That's what most people use anyway, right? If you use another software right there to get your specs or in-depth specs, let me know. Hit me in the comments so I can download them, because I haven't done that much research on them. But Lenovo Vantage, a definite like. Like number 6, and I'll keep this short and sweet, and I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. There's finally a company, manufacturer out there that allows you to upgrade your laptop as you need and not have to spend extra money for their high-end models. Alienware, Razer, that is all. And my final like, there's a bunch of other things that I like, but I wanted to keep this video short, but y'all know I can be long-winded sometimes. It's all good. I like talking to y'all anyway. Is the speakers. This was a surprise to me because I didn't expect them to be as good as they are. They are loud. The dynamic range could be better, but they're just right for listening and playing videos. Video games, or computers, or music. There are some low end in there, or there is some low end in there, but the higher end freaks, I'd like them to give me a little more of, or I would have liked them to give me a little more of, a little bit more of that dynamic range. I thought it was more mid and lows than highs, but I'm in no way complaining. To be honest with y'all, I'm a self-proclaimed audiophile and I nitpick at these things, but they are good and I place them above the Alienware models. And that's being honest with you, and I love those speakers except for the M15R5, those were trash. That's just being real. But as I normally do, let's just do a quick demo. Go to the same channel that I normally go through. As you can see, we found something that's loud enough for us to play, but they do sound pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a little bit low end, and it's great. All right, we'll end it there because I don't want to get a copyright here. That's probably too much anyway. But hey, speakers, a definite like. Again, dynamic range could be a little better, but I'm in no way beating up on these speakers. That's why they're in my like category. Now on to my unfortunates or my dislikes, which to be honest with y'all, I had to nitpick. I had to nitpick on all my dislikes except for one. One was a definite dislike, and that's my number one dislike, which is the trackpad. Now, though I can feel that there is a slight improvement, it doesn't feel, or still doesn't feel as secure as I'd like it to be. I do like the size of it. There are no gaps at the top, but at the bottom, definitely uneven gaps at the bottom. If you tap it lightly, it just feels a little loose. Let me close this out. It just feels a little loose. Not as much as on the 7i models, but still, I just don't get that secure feeling like I did, say, on a Razer or an Alienware laptop. I called that model, I called the 7i model out like last time I reviewed it. And I called that model a trash pad instead of a trackpad because it was totally garbage. This is slightly above that, where they could have went on a deep end and improved it overall like they did everything else with this laptop, like Alienware did with the X15 models. And there's the X15s or the M15s were already good and they made it better. They should have did that here, and I think they made it a little better, but it was a small increment. Now, I don't use the trackpad that much, and you may or may not, and this would be okay for the times that I do, but it doesn't give me an option to not opt for a mouse like I would do on a Razer Blade or a MacBook Pro, where, you know, I don't even know where my MacBook mouse is, to be honest with you, or my Apple mouse is, to be honest with you. Where if I didn't have a mouse available for this, or for those, I make do. With this, or especially the MSI, which is also one that has a trash pad, if I forgot a mouse and I was on travel somewhere and I needed to do some typing, some editing, I'm going to get that $5 mouse from Dollar General or Family Dollar or wherever they sell 5 and dime or wherever, whatever's in your neighborhood, to get me a mouse to hold me over. And that's just me being real. Dislike number 2, and again, this is a nitpick because it's something I'm probably not going to use that much, and that's the camera. Again, yes, I'm nitpicking at this point, but if Alienware can put a 1080p camera in their top of the line X15 model, Lenovo, you can do the same here. It looks washed out, and I wouldn't dare use this for anything other than a quick work or school meeting. That's it. It's washed out like a cell phone from 2008, so don't expect anything other than that. Fucking iPhone 4 or 5, whatever was out in 2008. I think at some point, these gaming laptop manufacturers need to start taking the camera a little bit more serious. Yes, for Lenovo or Dell's business or personal line, slap this garbage camera in those, but in your gaming laptop, give me a gaming camera or throw one in the box, especially you, Dell, because y'all make your own. Okay, I'm done with the camera. Dislike number 3, and again, it's a nitpick, and that is the number pad. I'm only tapping it on the shoulder, not really beating it up because it's a little bit squished. A little too much if you require a lot of number input. Like if you're doing Excel spreadsheets with a lot of number crunching or calculations, this probably will take some getting used to because it's not normal size. And there is some extra space in between the keys, which they could have made them a little bit bigger. But at the same time, I understand what they did because it probably would have made everything look off, and then, you know, OCD and all that other good stuff. So while it's there, it is squished, and it does take some getting used to, because, you know, sometimes when you're used to working with numbers, sometimes you don't even have to look. You can just like I do on my regular size keyboard. With this one, for now, I have to actually look at it while I'm typing or while I'm putting in calculations or doing any spreadsheets because it is a little bit squished. But again, I'm not beating up on it, but I'm just letting y'all know it's just something that you should be, not could be concerned about, but you should know. It is what it is. And one more dislike, but it's not really a full dislike, but it's an honorable mention, I guess. And that's a feature that it has that probably nobody's going to use, and that's Tobii. And if you're wondering what it is, or if it's the same Tobii that was in Alienware's M15, M17, R3, and R4 line of laptops, yes it is. But this is a dumbed down version where it'll track your head movement, but not your eye movement. So the one that Alienware had was pretty advanced because it was pretty accurate in tracking your eyeballs, and it was like, it was pretty scary. And I'm kind of disappointed because there were so many things that you can probably do with that outside of gaming that I don't think any developers really jumped on because it was, I guess it was made for gaming, but not for anything else. So maybe it is used for something else and I just don't know about it. But again, I've only seen it in gaming laptops. So why is it a dislike? Well, one, it's a dumbed down version. And two, like I said before, who actually uses this? And if you do, hit me in the comments and let me know the games or your use of the games that takes the best advantage of using Tobii, because as of now, I don't see one instance where I would. I tried it on Tomb Raider and a couple other games. It was okay, but you don't know how much your head moves during the game until you have Tobii on and you're wondering what the hell is going on with the screen and you forget, oh, I'm moving my damn head. So you quickly turn it off. Now, the main reason it's a dislike is because they could have taken this out and added a Windows Hello Face Log feature, which this doesn't have. I'm pretty sure it could have been cheaper by putting some IR, some IR capabilities in here to make it possible, and take Tobii completely out. But it is what it is, So Lenovo in the future, no Tobii, give us Windows Hello feature, either the fingerprint or the facial recognition. Hook us up, because this is already a great laptop. Now, as usual, before I move on into the performance version of my review, if you want to call it that, consumer review, I'm going to comment on two things that really don't matter to me, but probably matters to you. So I don't rank them against other units, because for battery life and fan noise, to be honest with y'all, I don't care. Right? I don't care. Those are two things I don't care about. Why? Because it's a gaming laptop, and I'm never going to game on battery. Yes, if you're using this for dual purpose, it may matter to you, so I'm going to talk about it. Fan noise, again, it's a gaming laptop. I expect the fans to be louder than a fan, say, on an Dell XPS series. But again, everybody's level of fan noise, hearing fan noise is different. So I'll speak on that. But a laptop with this much power, I don't expect the fan noise. I expect the fan noise to be there, but not excessive. So for battery life, well, actually in hybrid mode, it's pretty damn good for a laptop this size. I'd say 4 to 5 hours with light use, and that's keeping the display at 165 hertz and not dropping in at 60 hertz. So I didn't measure it by dropping it down to 60 hertz because frankly, I don't like using 60 hertz. And when I'm saying light use, I mean not gaming. I mean web surfing, video watching with the screen at 50% brightness. For mine, out of the box, I said this before, hybrid mode was not activated. So this came out of the box ready for that action. But I didn't notice it until I opened up Lenovo Vantage, and then I had to turn it off or turn it on. Before then, battery life was pretty bad, to be honest, because that 3080 was on constantly. So battery life was like 2 or 3 hours tops, because that 3080 had this battery working like a stripper when a wrench do. I shouldn't have said that. And fan noise, well, it's there. Every gaming laptop has it, and if I had to put this in any type of ranking, I'd say it was mid-pack. Maybe close to the bottom, mid to 3/4 of the way to the bottom. Obviously with the graphics chip this powerful in a small package, the fans should be audible. You got a 3080 with 16 gigabytes of VRAM and 165 watts of power. I expect this thing to be heating up pretty good, pretty good. But at the same time, they're not as bad as, say, Alienware, which, in my opinion, are the loudest in the business. And I'm not knocking Alienware because it is what it is. Those fans didn't bother me. If fan noise matters to you, again, this would be the mid-pack, mid to 3/4 of the way down if I had to stack all of the laptops or gaming laptops that I've reviewed. To me, they are not intrusive, but everybody's level of hearing and level of aggravation from those fans is different. But when you have headphones on or speakers turned up, they won't bother you. It is what it is. Now I got Tomb Raider running at max power or max graphical power and with RTX all the way up. And as you can see, and I'll talk about this in the performance area, but the fans are being kicked up a little bit and they don't bother me. All right, I can feel air coming. It is getting a little heated here. I can still hear them. They're kicking up a notch. So this is what you get. And to be honest with you, my AC is on, and I don't know if you guys can hear that. My AC that's on in the background is louder than these fans right now at this point. Now, obviously, I expect them to be kicked up a notch further if I continue gaming on this. But at the same time, they don't bother me. I can feel the heat out the side, and it gets a little warm up here. But we'll talk about that in a second. But again, fan noise, It's not a real issue to me, but it may be to you. You can't hear them, but they don't aggravate me. And finally, I'm gonna throw one more thing in there, and that's heat. And before anybody asks me, yes, this thing does get hot. I expect nothing less. Every gaming laptop, depending on the games you play, the settings you have inside that game, the screen you have, they're gonna get hot. That's just a fact of life, or a fact of gaming life. This is a powerful, legitimate desktop replacement, so I expect it to do so. My R10 gets heated, and I know I can feel it coming out of the top of that thing. It makes it literally makes the bottom of my desk here get warm. Not the top, but just the bottom of it from the air shooting up out of the vents. So this thing, when running a stress test, it got up there, mid 80s to 90s in the CPU and the GPU. But again, this is me running a stress test, which is synthetic, and in practical application, I expected it to be almost or near the same. The top deck here did get hot, but it was nowhere near as hot as that X15 that I just reviewed, where it was so hot up here you couldn't even touch it. This right here, because the vents are not here, or maybe these are vents, they're definitely not speakers, but I don't know, it didn't get as hot. I can touch and not have to, eject my hand back because of the heat. I think the reference I made in that video was I could literally put a slice of bacon up here at the top and probably fry that motherfucker in 2 or 3 gaming sessions. Seriously. So this one does get hot, but not as hot. And I probably could attribute that to how beefy this thing is in comparison to the X line. So it has a little bit more space in there, wider vents in the side and in the back. So it does a good job of heat management. And plus, there's software out there that you can do. Folks get on there and say you can undervolt. And if you can do all of that, in my opinion, if you can do all of that, or because it gets too hot, does heat really matter? Let's think about this, folks. Does heat really matter if you can do all of these adjustments to your hardware and the inside? You should be able to buy any laptop and not even care about heat. Just saying. So for those that want to know if it gets hot, the answer is yes. But does it run hot? Meaning in normal use, normal gaming sessions, does it run excessively hot? No. Now for the performance, right? And I'll put some graphics on the screen, and I'll probably put some B-roll in there so you guys can see. Obviously, if you haven't seen my reviews before, I run 3 synthetic tests. One is Time Spy Extreme from 3D Mark, and that's the Time Spy Extreme 4K gaming performance test, because this is a 1600p screen. And then I run the Port Royal ray tracing performance test, again, because of this screen and because of the 3080, right? The 30 series is supposed to be better with ray tracing. And then I run Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark, because for a game that old, I'm telling you, that thing could stress your computer out. Even though I don't see a lot of ray tracing elements visually inside of Tomb Raider, when you turn ray tracing on, it does some damage as far as your frames, right? I'm talking probably about 25 to 30% difference in frame rates with ray tracing on and ray tracing off. So as you can see in the graphics that I have somewhere here, maybe here, the Lenovo Legion 7 is pretty much eating on the heels of my Alienware Aurora R10, which is a full desktop. It has a 3070, and I believe that 3070 is like a 220 watt one. But if you look at the score, 6358 for the Alienware Aurora R10 with a Ryzen chip, and the Legion 7, 5861 right behind it. And this is a full powered mobile 3080 with the Ryzen 9 in there. So it's pretty much looking at my R10 in the face and me mugging it. The X15R1, yeah, sit your ass in the back seat. Top of the line. Anyway, with the Port Royal ray tracing test, again, we see the Lenovo Legion 7 Gen 6 nipping on the heels of the Alienware Aurora R10. 8194 to 7696. Again, the X15 R1 5929 in the back of the bus. Now, the reason why I'm beating up on Alienware, because you guys may get in your feelings about it, especially for those folks that bought it or want to compare it to this one, is because, again, we were all excited about the X15 coming out, thinking it was going to be that much greater than the M line, but the performance did not tell that tale, right? It did not tell us that tale, right? I think they duped us and said, hey, if you want full power, you got to get the X17. So why even make the X15 if your X17 is really the top of the line or top tier version? Anyway, this is the Legion 7 Gen 6 review, so we'll move on to that. But anyway, just know that the X15, it's in the back of the bus. For Shadow of the Tomb Raider, as you can see in the practical application, because those are synthetic tests, and you guys know I like to prove my point by saying, hey, by running a real game and running a practical application, the actual game, as you can see, the Legion 7 Gen 6 again against the Aurora R10 is just about the same, 70 frames per second to 69 frames per second. With RTX on, RTX off, 101 frames per second to 105 frames per second. And then I ran the Aurora R10 on my 4K display that you can see back here, the LG C10. I made sure to drop the resolution down to 1600p to make the test comparable. And again, I'm comparing this to the Lenovo, or to the Aurora R10, because again, when you buy a computer or a laptop of this power, you want it to replace your desktop. Now, if you look at the other laptops that I have on here, the X15R1 actually performed. But again, it performed because the screen was running at 1080p. So you can't compare apples to apples because of the screen. But again, when I ran a Legion 7 Gen 6 at 1080p with RTX on, it ate its lunch. With RTX off, it ate its lunch, and it ate its mama's lunch. It is what it is. The Legion 5 Pro, it did what it tried to do. Again, that's a lower power laptop, but it's supposed to be like that because it is the little brother of the Legion 7 Gen 6. So it is what it is. But as you can see, this is a valid desktop replacement. As a matter of fact, I connected this, the Legion 7, to my LG C10 that you see back here, and ran Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 4K with RTX off, and I was able to get 4K almost 60 frames per second with no issues at all. Nearly the exact same performance as my R10, which amazed me, right? With RTX on, obviously it drops to 40 to 50 frames per second, probably a little bit lower than that, depending on where you were in the game. But for that game, a non-shooter, it's totally playable. But in both instances, they look the same, and that was incredible. I'd say that qualifies this as a desktop replacement, and it has my R10 shaking in its boots right now. For real, for real. I mean, it's looking at my R10 with Birdman hands like, I'm about to be top dog. It is what it is. Now on to my recommendation. So do I recommend the Legion 7 Gen 6 of 2021? And my answer to that question is this. If it's in your price range, on sale, maybe some discounts, military, first responders, medical, what are you waiting for? You got great build quality, connectivity options galore, a gaming laptop when you want, a conservative looking laptop when you don't, a great feeling keyboard with a number pad, good to great speakers, a screen that's top notch in this range, that's super bright and gives you the option to take it to a lower refresh rate to save battery life. Where they do that at? Lenovo did an outstanding job putting this thing together, albeit a few nitpicks by myself, which may or may not be an issue to you. But for me, and I think this is my first time saying this on my channel, this thing is a keeper. It seems me and my R10 and I are going to have a long talk because I may be moving on. I think it's time. I think I can finally travel with the same power of my R10, or nearly the same power as my R10, in my backpack. And that kind of convenience in this line of work is priceless. Thanks for watching, folks. This your boy DC 2.0. Y'all stay out of trouble, y'all stay safe, and stay healthy. If you have any comments or have any questions, hit me in the comments. Other than that, deuces.